Well, welcome everybody to our April webinar this for the CTE Teach program, but we have a special webinar this month where we are have one of my favorite people, Google Innovator, Eric Kurtz, and as I've shared before, I will wait to introduce Eric because I'm stepping over Grant's toes. So if you are here for Hipster Google, tools you've probably never heard before, featuring Eric Kurtz. Again, this is our April CTE Teach webinar, and I'll turn it over to you, Grant.
Yeah, and there is excitement in the room because I know that Eric's going to share some amazing stuff with our CTE Teach group today. So stay tuned in for what we'll get to. But starting with some basic norms, things we know about, right? We were having that conversation a little bit ago. We need to know when we're on mute and when we're not. So just check yourself when you're clicking those buttons and you're tooling around on your computer and trying to navigate to some of those links that you're not accidentally unmuted and yelling at the dog in the background. So that's number one, attendance. We follow what's happening on the Zoom. So make sure that your Zoom name is correct. If it's not, you can change that really quick and easy. Most of us know how to do that. If you don't, then we can step in there and help. And as always, remember to stay tuned in on the chat. If you have questions or comments and you want to engage, but maybe you don't want to raise your hand and speak up, feel free to throw those things in there because we'll review those chats on a regular basis and relay information to Eric as he's talking today, and we'll answer questions as we can as well.
Awesome. So for those of you who are in the CTE Teach program, at the very end of Eric's session, we're going to have just some things to discuss really quick, some things coming up as far as what we're doing, what needs to be submitted, all that kind of stuff. And if you're interested in CTE Teach, we're going to share a little bit about, what it is and what we have planned for next year. If you're interested in that, you just kind of stick around for a few minutes afterwards. But without further ado, I'm super elated to introduce you to Mr. Eric Kurtz. I first saw him in Philadelphia. I went to ISTE, which is a ed tech type of conference, and to say it's an ed tech conference is putting it mildly. It's like an ed tech extravaganza. Picture like Disneyland, all being ed tech, and that's basically what the conference is. And so I was privileged to see several Eric's presentations while we were there. And I've told my wife this. He reminded me of Tom Hanks, and I'm like, this guy is Tom Hanks. I love him. I cannot wait to see and hear more of him, but not just because of that, just because of just his knowledge and ability. He has a book. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called Control-Alt-Achieve. And we will share all these links with you in the chat. You can go on Amazon, buy his book. He runs the Control-Alt-Achieve website, and you can always find him on Twitter and all sorts of social media. So without further ado, Mr. Eric Kurtz.
Hey, thank you so very much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, make sure this all comes through okay here. There we go. I think that looks good. And got to get my chat window back open here so I can monitor the chat as well. Excellent. Well, Chris, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate being able to be with you guys here. I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to catch myself saying that a lot because I'm in Ohio. So it is about 6:30 for me, a little bit later. But so happy that this worked out. I was able to join you guys here. Before we do jump on in, a little bit of housekeeping things. I did just drop a link in the chat to a resource document that goes along with this session. And I always just want people to have time to, pull that up if they want to have that up so they can click on some of the links and follow along. It's the same as the bit.ly link that you see here on the screen, bit.ly/Kurtz-Hipster. I just put the full Google Doc link into the chat, but you can always just use the bit.ly link as well. That'll work. And that'll get you to a document that looks like this. This is the Hipster Google document that has all of the links in here. And I do add new things to this all the time. So I would encourage you to bookmark it or, add it to your drive, whatever works for you. You certainly can make a copy of it too. That's totally fine. But of course, if you make a copy, then, you won't be getting any of the updates if I add new things to it. So certainly encourage you to keep track of the document, whatever way works best for you. While you guys are doing that, Thanks again for the introduction. Really appreciate that. Yep, I'm an educator from Ohio. This is my 30th year in education. I started off as a middle school math teacher, taught middle school math for 7 years and absolutely loved it. But I also loved technology. And so we had a job opening in my district for a tech integration specialist or a tech coach, depending upon how you call that. And so I switched. I switched from teaching kids to teaching teachers. And I have been doing that ever since. So that's my day job. I work at a regional service center here in Northeast Ohio, serving about 35 school districts with tech integration support, mostly googly stuff, but technology in general. So that's my day job. And then on the side, I am a Google certified trainer, an innovator, an educator. And so get to do stuff like this. I get to work with folks all around the world, either in person or through Google Meet or Zoom, as the case may be. And yes, I do run the website controlaltachieve.com, where I share all of my stuff. I would definitely encourage you to check out the site if you haven't before, or if you haven't been there recently. I post lots of webinars and projects and, Google News and, help guides and things like that. On the site, probably one of the easiest things to do, I do have a newsletter that you can sign up for. And I think that's a nice way to stay in the loop, because I know life gets crazy and you're like, I haven't checked the site in a while. So there's a newsletter tab where you can sign up for that. It's usually just like a once a month email I send out that says, hey, here's all the new stuff on the site. And that just helps you stay in the loop. But, whatever works for you. You can also connect with me on Twitter, my YouTube channel, and all that kind of stuff. So definitely do check that out. I think that's pretty well. Other than the fact that yes, I am also sort of a hipster. So yes, I do. I do think this session rings true with me in a couple of ways. But I probably should explain that. I probably should explain why this session is called Hipster Google and what all of that is about. So I think, we're all familiar with the idea of being a hipster. Years ago, that term started becoming a little more popular, with the idea being, if somebody is aware of like a really cool band that nobody else knows about, and that's what makes it cool, is because, well, I knew that band before they were popular, for example, or if you know about a really, neat restaurant that nobody else is aware of, you could apply the hipster label to something like that. And so years ago, I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we applied that to Google? Because although we all know the things Google's well known for, Gmail and search and, Google Docs, things like that, I was aware that Google also created a load of other projects and tools and resources that sometimes fell between the cracks, flew under the radar, people didn't know so much about. And I think a lot of that comes from their culture there. Google does 20% time, which you very well may be, aware of. But if not, the idea is employees are allowed to take 20% of their time and use it on their own projects, as long as it's benefiting, the overall, mission idea of Google, but really anything that they're passionate about, so 4 days of the week, they're working on their regular job, and the equivalent of 1 day a week, they're pursuing their passion. And all kinds of interesting things come because of that. But then Google also has whole divisions that are just, set up for this kind of thing. They've got, their area, I'm going to forget what it is now, area 240, 140, something like that. I'm going to draw a blank on it, but they've got a whole section set up for that. And then they do their Google experiments. There's a whole section for that. And so they've got a culture there where they're always just creating things and saying, well, let's see what this does. And so over the years, I thought it'd be really neat to collect those together. And that's pretty much where Hipster Google came from. And so, year after year, as I find new things that Google has released that maybe people are not as familiar with, I add them to this presentation. Now, sometimes I do have to take things out because things don't always last. Sometimes they're like, well, that was a cool project, but we're going to, sunset that one. And so that does happen. And, sometimes I'm surprised. I'll be going through the presentation and a link doesn't work anymore because, they decided to shut something down. So that's always possible, but I try to keep this, up to date and fresh. So that's what we're going to be doing in this session, is just exploring some of the lesser known googly tools. And that's really the only criteria that I have for this. I guess two criteria. One is that they're, a little bit lesser known, but the other is that they are from Google. There's so many amazing ed tech tools out there that play nicely in the Google ecosystem, but really I'm looking at tools that either, Google themselves, they created this tool, or they were very much involved in the creation of it. And so with that in mind, what I've done is I've tried to organize these things into some categories. So I've got 5 broad categories: search tools, map tools, creative tools, communication tools, miscellaneous tools. I'm sure some of these things could fit into more than one category, but I tried to bring a little bit of order to all of this. And again, all of those can be found at any point at bit.ly/Kurtz-Hipster. That'll get you to that document. So what I'm going to do is just start working through those. Certainly, we don't have time to go in depth into every one of them. I think there's probably 60 or 70 of these in the list now. I will say this, though: if there's something in here that looks really interesting to you and you'd like me to talk about it a little bit more, or pull it up on the screen, if it's something that I skip over or don't spend a lot of time on, please let me know. Just throw it in the chat. If you want to kind of look down through the document ahead of time here and see if there's something in here that you're particularly interested in, please feel free to throw that in the chat, and I'll make sure that I spend a little bit more time on the ones that you are interested in. But that's it. That's the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and get going here. And please stop me at any point. Throw questions, throw comments in the chat. I'll do my best to keep an eye on that. And also, if you have tools that I don't have in the list, I'd love to learn from you guys. I would always want to pick up new ideas. So please share things if you think there's something that I've left off the list. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with our first category, which is search tools. And Google's known for search, so certainly that makes sense that there's a lot of stuff they do in the search area. And so we're going to look at several of their more interesting search tools. One of the first ones that I've got on the list here, and this list goes right down along with what's in the document. So if you're following along in the document, it's exactly the same as each slide. They just go in the same order there. This first one is an oldie but a goodie. This one's been around for a long time. It's called Ingram Viewer. I'm going to go ahead and click on the link to open it up. This is a tool that's part of Google Books. So Google Books is their whole project where they've tried to scan in every book that has ever existed, so they've got, millions of books from the last 500 years, and they've been, scanning them all in. And once they have all of the books, in their database, they can start doing some interesting things. And so several of the, different resources we'll see have actually come out of Google Books. And this is one of them. It's called Ingram Viewer. And the way this one works is what you do is at the top, you put in a search term. Well, you put in multiple search terms, and you just put a comma in between each one of them. And then when you run the search, what it does is it creates a graph showing the relative frequency of those terms in books over time. And so you can see, at certain times, a phrase or a word was more popular, was used more often than another. So the example that I usually use for this, just because I think it paints a pretty good picture of this, is 3 different terms that all mean the same thing. And so I'm going to put in the Great War, and the World War, and World War I. Now, all 3 of those are the same thing. I've got to spell it right there. So the Great War, the World War, and World War I, those are all the same thing. They're all same names for what we now call World War I. And I'll just run a quick search on those 3. And there's not obviously much before 1900. So I'll tidy up the graph a little bit. You can actually go back. I think the 1500 is how far you can go back, because they do have some books that go that far back. But I'll tidy that up a little bit to 1900. There you go. And so here we get our graph. And it tells an interesting story. At first, the blue line, the Great War, was the most common, phrase being used. And then as we get close to 1920, it becomes the World War. But then as we start getting to the end of the 1930s, that drops off. And in the 1940s, World War I is now the most common term of those three. Now, of course, we know why, because of World War II, obviously. But what's neat is, our students might not. When you think about, history, I think it's true for all of us. Anything that's before when we were born is just this big kind of glob of it's the past. And so being able to take things that you're studying in your courses and putting those terms into Ingram Viewer, you can get these interesting graphs. And it's not just about, oh, that's a cool graph. It's about asking why, saying, okay, guys, why is there suddenly, a dip here? Or why do these terms change places? Why was there a spike? What was happening back in history at that time that caused that? And the real learning comes in with the asking of the questions why and investigating that. So I'd encourage you to throw some things into Ingram Viewer and see what sort of graphs you get. I'm always curious, if you find an interesting graph, please share with me what your search terms were. It's always neat to see some interesting results from that. Well, let's keep on going again. Lots of these to look at. Some we'll spend a little bit more time on than others. Next, Google Scholar just mentioned this one. I don't think I'll pull it up. This one's a little bit better known, but it's a great tool. This is Google's search engine if you're searching for peer-reviewed scholarly articles. So instead of searching the entire web, it's only limiting it to peer-reviewed scholarly articles. So if you're working on a research paper, whether it's students doing a term paper or a teacher working on their master's, whatever the case might be, and you're needing to find some good research papers, Google Scholar is a great way to narrow down to those. You can read an abstract typically for each of the papers. Sometimes you can read the entire paper. And of course, you can get the citation for each of these, which is really nice. You can pick MLA, APA, or Chicago to get the proper citation for them, which is a great time saver. Next up, instant search cards. I don't know, there's probably a real name for this. I just call them that. But the idea that when you run a Google search, sometimes instead of just getting websites, you actually get an interactive tool. Like in this case, you can see a picture of a timer here. So like, for example, I'm sure we're all familiar with this, that if I type in the word timer, I don't just get websites about timers. I actually get a timer that I can, set the time on, whatever that time, whatever I need it to be, and start the countdown. And if I need my students to work on something for 10 minutes, okay, guys, it's all break up and, you need a quick timer, boom, you can do that. And of course, it'll go beep, beep, beep. There it is when it's all done. And there's a lot of these. I've tried to pull some of these together. And so in the agenda document, I've got 2 links to some blog posts I've done in the past where I tried to pull together some of my favorites. Now, if you guys have a favorite, please throw it in the chat. If there's an instant search that you like to run that pulls up a neat tool, I'd love to hear which ones you guys use. But there's so many of these out there. You've got, like, if you type in flip a coin, it will literally flip a coin. The roll a die one used to just roll a single die. Actually, now it rolls multiple dice. So if you come in here and you type in roll a die, you will get all of the polyhedral dice that you would use if you're playing D&D. And so you can definitely have those virtual dice ready to go. And you can even add modifiers onto it, which is great. But the point is, this would be really good if you were doing, probability with your students. Great way to generate those really quick. And again, on down the line, loads and loads of these, defining a word. There's the timer, the calculator. If you type in calculator, unit conversions, area, volume, graphing equations, all of these will yield interactive search tools rather than just websites, which is great. The translation tool is fantastic. That's a great one for practicing fluency. You can either type in words or use the microphone to speak, and it will translate for you. So Google adds these frequently. Like I said, I've got some of my favorites in there, 2 different blog posts, so you can explore those. Probably due for a new one because they're adding new ones so often. But again, if there's some that you have used, please feel free to throw those into the chat. All right, next up, reverse image search. So I think most of us are familiar with Google Images. That's a great site. We all love Google Images. Great place to go if you say, "Oh, I need to find a picture of a dog." Go to Google Images. Boom, there you go. You got dogs. All right. Well, what if though we want to go the other direction? What if we have a picture and we're curious what it is? Well, Google Images works for that too. It can do reverse image search. So when you go to Google Images, in the search box, instead of typing in a term, we can use the little camera button there and we can upload a picture. Now, this can be really useful when we're trying to talk to our students about trying to evaluate the authenticity of information they find online. You might have a picture and you're like, is that picture really what they say it is, or has it been modified? So just as an example, I've got let me see if I can pull up my little, I've got a picture of a shark here. Let me grab it here. It's in my resources. I'll open up in a new tab so we can kind of see it here. There it is. Okay. So this is a picture that I found online that was supposedly of this terrible flood hurricane that happened. And then the streets got flooded and sharks swam onto the highway. And so this is somebody's rearview mirror here, and there's a shark swimming beside them there. And so the question is that real? Did that really happen? And so if I go to Google Images and I say, hey, let's search by image, and I click on that and I go to upload an image, I can head to my resources folder, grab that shark picture. And when I upload it, Google's going to compare that against every image it has and try to see if it can identify what it is. And yep, pretty quickly we find out that that shark photo is a fake. And so we get, all of these stories and, articles that were done talking about that. So good tool for students to know how to use. Other ones, Google Trends. Love Google Trends. This is a very meta search engine, and because it's a search engine about searching. So every time you run a Google search, Google tracks that. They keep track of all the searches that are being submitted, and Google Trends is a place to go to see what is trending or how have searches changed over time. So kind of like Ingram Viewer was for books, this is for searching. Now, if you come here, they've got some pre-made searches, and you can, dive into any of these that they've already pulled up, what's trending and so forth. But what I think is really cool is you can just put in your own terms. So if you're studying something in class and you want to see how has our interest in this changed, over the last 2 decades or so, depends on how far back Google's search results go. The example I usually throw in here, because I think it illustrates this well, it's kind of cute, is if you type in the phrase Roman numerals, and let's say I search for the phrase Roman numerals. Well, what I'm curious about is how have people's interest in Roman numerals changed over time? Well, the initial graph I get is just the last 12 months. Well, I can come here and I can go all the way back to 2004. So we're coming up on 20 years worth of search data here. And when I do that, I get this really distinctive graph that shows up where every single year there is a spike in the search for Roman numerals in February every single year. Now, of course, we can probably guess pretty quickly that is because of the Super Bowl, because people are like going, okay, what are those numbers again? And so invariably, every year. Now, my guess is we can also break it down by state. You can compare country to country. Probably if we narrowed in on certain years, we'd also see probably where the Super Bowl, which teams were in it, because we'd probably see, higher interest in certain states. But great tool to, again, ask why. Put in some search terms of content that you're exploring, and then say, okay, so why does it look like this? What's been happening over time that might cause that? Google Alerts, great search tool if you want to get alerted anytime there's new information on a topic. I find this is especially useful for like school administrators to set an alert for their school district. And then if there's a news article, if there's a blog post about their school district, they'll get an email alert saying, hey, here's some new information out there. Helps you kind of stay on top of that. Be Internet Awesome. This is a free curriculum from Google to teach digital citizenship and safety and so forth, but it also includes the idea of searching. There's content in here about evaluating what you find online. Now, this one's geared a little bit more toward younger students, but it's a curriculum that you can use to teach them, and also has an interactive game they can play to test out what they have learned there. Awesome. Oh, and I did see Wendy put something into the chat when I do believe we do have this one coming up a little bit later. She talked about making data GIFs. So yes, that's great to hear that you've used that, Wendy. The data GIF maker, I believe, shows up a little bit later in here. That's a great tool. Next up, Google Dictionary. This is an extension, a Chrome extension. So if you have this one installed, all you have to do is double click on any word online. And when you double click on a word, it'll pop up a pronunciation of the word and a definition of it. This can be great if a student is dealing with some information that's unfamiliar to them and they come across a word they're not really sure what that word means. If they've got Google Dictionary installed, the Chrome extension, just give a double click on any word and it will search for the definition and pronunciation of that word for them. Art palette, one that's a little bit more, we have a number of these that fall more into the fine arts end of things, but this one's cool. Art palette is a search engine where you search by color rather than by words. And this is built off of Google Arts and Culture. You're going to see a bunch of stuff pop up throughout this presentation where it comes out of Google Arts and Culture. So just like Google Books was Google scanning in every book that's ever existed, Google Arts and Culture is Google scanning in all of the works of art and sculptures and drawings and historical documents. And then they've built things off of that. So with Art Palette, it's pretty sweet. You can come here and you can pick a color palette that you want to use for searching. And when you do, it'll try to find paintings and photos and sculptures that fit that color palette. Now you can just say, surprise me and put in, random colors and it will, do that for you. Or you can go in and you can specify each of the colors that you want here. And of course, for each thing it brings up, you can go into more details and learn about that painting or sculpture on Google's Arts and Culture site. Life tags. This is one where you can search 4 million images from Life magazine that Google has used AI to sort and put into categories. Great for some primary source photos there. Talk to Books is another one that's from Google Books. This one is where you can type in a natural language question and it will search over 100,000 books to try to find the answer for you and take you right to that page. It'll jump you to the page of that book and you can actually read that excerpt from the book that addresses your question. Socratic is a mobile app from Google, works on iOS and Android. It's like a homework helper for students. This is a search tool for students who are struggling with questions on their content from their class. Basically, with the Socratic app, you just take your phone and just point the camera at the content. So if it's, a math problem or a chart or, a paragraph of text from the textbook, whatever it might be. And what Socratic will do is take that picture and the AI will try to figure out, well, what is it you're trying to learn? And then it will find YouTube videos that teach that content. It'll find blog posts that address it. If it's a math problem, it'll even try to walk you through step by step how to solve the math problem. So a great search tool to help students who may be struggling with their content. Tenor, this is a search engine from Google for animated GIFs. If you're looking to find animated GIFs, there's a lot of great sites out there, but this is another good one to add to the list. And you can find GIFs there, and of course, download those, add those to your presentations and so forth. So that's one of my go-to places to go when I'm looking for some good animated GIFs. Next up, this one doesn't have a link. This is just one I'll just have to kind of, well, I can actually pull it up and show it to you. But this one I'm just calling VR and AR models in search. So this is a mobile thing that Google's done. Again, there's not like a specific link for this. It's just if you're on your mobile device and you're running a search, more and more and more, Google is starting to add in VR and AR models of things that you're searching for. So like animals and dinosaurs and planets and body systems and artifacts and things like that. So let me try this out. I've got my phone here and I should be able to put it up on the screen. Give me a second here to find this. Here we go. I'm going to run a search for, let me do Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'll put that in Tyrannosaurus, if I can actually get back to my homepage there. There we go. Let me type in Tyrannosaurus Rex. And there we go. Okay, so let me put this up on the screen. I use an app called Visor, and Visor allows me to, it's like an app that allows me to put my phone up on the screen. So that's my phone right there. And I just did a Google search for the word Tyrannosaurus. And of course I get, websites about T-Rexes and so forth. But notice when I run this search on mobile, I also get this button that says view in 3D. So little by little, Google is adding this more and more to the searches that you do. And if you come across something like that, you can click on that. And what it will do is it'll show you a 3D model of that item. Oh, he's even growling. There you go. But where it gets really neat is if you click view in your space. Now, when I do that, what it's going to do is it's going to look around my room. There's my cat scratching post there for my cat. And then, oh, there he is. Let's move him over here a little bit. There he is. And now I have a T-Rex in my room with me here, and I can move around and take a look at it. I can even click view actual size, which I don't know. He may not fit really well in my room, but there he is. And so this is an awesome way for our students to get up close and personal with things that they are exploring. Pretty awesome there. Okay, we'll go and move that over here, and we'll exit out of our T-Rex. There he is. He's pretty cool. All right. Again, that one doesn't have a specific link, so there's not a website to go for that. That's just if you're on mobile and you're running a search. It's a really neat way to get those AR and VR models. Couple more things on search, and then we're going to move into another category. Fact check tools. This is a website that Google runs where you can put in any topic that you're curious about getting fact checks on, because, again, we want our students to be able to evaluate the content they find online. So this will pull up articles that are from journalists and researchers that have been fact checked. A good way to be able to check on a topic that you're not sure about. Lori asked about searching the photo on your phone. Yes, yeah, I was doing that on mobile with the T-Rex. So that's not something that's going to work on like your Windows device or your Mac or your Chromebook. For that AR VR thing I was showing, yeah, you do need to just run a Google search on your phone. So they're adding more things all the time. So not everything obviously is going to have a 3D model, but more and more things are getting those added in. Google Lens, give a shout out to that. This is another app from Google. It's also built right into Google Photos, and basically you can point your phone at the camera of your phone at pretty much anything, and Google Lens will do its best to figure out what it is you're looking at. I've used this when I've gone hiking and I've come across a cool plant or a mushroom or a flower, and I'm like, well, what is this? And I point Google Lens at it, and it tells me, oh, this is a such and such thing. You can also do this if you want to translate text, or also just have things read aloud. If a student has a physical piece of paper and they can point Google Lens at it, and it'll find the text in there, and then there's an option to have it read it to you, and it'll read it aloud right there off of your phone. So great tool as well. All right, whew, that's a lot of searching tools. So we'll go ahead and move into our next category. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Again, if you guys have questions, if you have suggestions, if you've got tools or anything you want to share, please continue to throw those in. Oh, somebody said they did 3D a meatball. Okay, I haven't tried that. That would be good. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, well, let's move on to map tools. That's our next category here. And the first one that I got in here, you're going to say, well, Eric, this is not a hipster tool. Everybody knows Google Earth. That's not something unknown. And you're right. Hopefully everybody is very familiar with Google Earth. But what I like to do is showcase there's a lot of neat things in Google Earth that I think people aren't always aware of. There's some lesser known features in Google Earth. And so with Google Earth, normally we think about it as, coming in here and just running a search and finding a location on the globe or viewing our house from space. That's always fun. But there's a lot of really neat things built into Google Earth, and a lot of them can be found in the Voyager section. So over on the far left, the third button down looks kind of like a ship steering wheel. That's the Voyager button. And that's where Google has loaded up a lot of content that's like pre-made content to use with Google Earth. So if I give a click on Voyager, you're going to see a bunch of really neat things here. So first of all, there's categories, and you can move through these categories: nature, games, layers, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of what you're going to see in here are what they call tours. So these are pre-made tours that I can click on any of these. And what it will do is pull up a tour that drops pins on the map on Google Earth and will fly me from place to place to place to place and teach me about that. So whether I want to learn about the Underground Railroad or James Cook's first voyage or ABCs from space, all of these are pre-made tours that are ready for me to click on and go through. It's a great way for students to interact with this content. Now, you're only going to see so many tours listed here. There's a lot more available than what shows up here. These are like their highlighted tours. Just be aware you can always just search for tours. Like if I come to the search button here, and if I just said, hey, I want to search for Charles Dickens, I could search for Dickens, and I could choose guided tours, and I'm going to find 7 tours about Charles Dickens here. So don't just go by only what's in the Voyager. There's a lot of stuff you can get to through the search button. But besides just the guided tours that are here, there's so many cool things. Like they've got games you can play. There's where on Google Earth is Carmen Sandiego. They've made games on here. And then the layers section is really neat as well. I love the layers. A couple of really cool things in the layers section. Way at the bottom of the layers section, there's the historical maps from around the world. This is a really neat layer. And basically what this one does is it allows you to go in and click on any of these locations and turn on. I may have to zoom in a little bit to see it here. There we go. And we can turn on or off historical maps, and they will overlay them on top of what the world looks like now. So here's a Washington, D.C. map from 1851, and I can flip it on and off. That's a really neat layer. And then I really love the layer called Timelapse. So the Timelapse layer, basically what it does is it takes 30 plus years of satellite imagery, and it will play it like an animation. So like if I come in here, I don't know, let's go with urban expansion. Let's see if I can find, Las Vegas would be a good one to look at here. This will probably, and you can search for anywhere on Earth. You could just put in your own search to look. But what it's going to do is it's going to load up like the last 30 plus years of satellite imagery that Google has for Google Maps, and it's going to play it like an animation. Now, it does take a little bit of time for it to load because that's a lot of information. But as it starts to come in here, what you can see is this is the growth of Las Vegas. We're getting into the 2000s over here on the side. You can see the scrolling time, and then it'll flip around to, I think, like 1980s. I think, 1984. And so here it is again. You can see the city as it grows out. What an amazing way for our students to be able to see, the melting of a glacier, or the growth of a city, or the changing of the path of a river. And it's a really neat way to just see that in action there. So a lot of neat things hidden away inside of Google Earth besides just searching for your house from space. So yeah, good stuff. All right, let's see. Looks like there's a little bit more action over in the chat. Somebody mentions that they were teaching culinary arts and they like using Google Earth with students in class to show global regions when discussing global cuisines. Is there a way to use Google Earth location links in a Google slide? So Google Slides does not allow embedding of Google Earth content. Really, the only thing you can embed in a Google slide would be a YouTube video. So you would have to link out to those. But if you're in Google Earth, yes, you can take those locations and you could just make them a hyperlink, but you're going to have to jump out to it. You have to click the link and actually jump out to that. But if you ever go to Google Earth and find a location you like, you can just copy the address from the top address bar, and that'll take you right to that spot. But yeah, that would be awesome if it maybe eventually some of that will get updated in Google Slides and we can have more active embeds in there. That'd be great. Okay, a couple more map related things and we'll keep on moving. Got lots of cool stuff to look at. Landlines is it's just a cool experiment from Google where it grabs like 20 random images from Google Earth and then you draw a mark on the screen and it tries to find something on the Earth that matches the shape of what you drew. That one wasn't as close. Some of them are a little bit closer. There we go. So it could be an interesting exploration of man-made versus natural formations. Pretty cool. There's Timelapse again as a standalone site. Timelapse is built into Google Earth, but there's also a standalone website that you can go to for Timelapse as well. Earth View, collection of some of the best images from Google Earth. If you get tired of Earth, you can head out to space. So there is Google Maps for planets and moons. You can explore planets, International Space Station, moons, just like you're exploring Google Earth. And if you're really excited about Mars, Google has a neat website called Access Mars, where they took all of the photos that the Curiosity rover collected, and they basically recreated Street View on Mars. So it's like you can use the Street View controls to walk around on the surface of Mars anywhere that the Curiosity rover went, where they've got those images. So a really neat immersive Mars experience. And then I think the last one I have on maps is Flume. Now, this one I think is only for Android. So apologies to the iOS folks, but this is a mobile app where what you do is you point your phone's camera at the ground, and then it drills a hole through the Earth and it shows you what's on the other side of the Earth from where you're pointing. You can then click on that and it'll actually open that up in Google Earth and you can see that other spot. So you can point it at different angles if you want to try to shoot through different spots of the Earth to see what's on the other side. So it just could be a neat way to explore a different part of the world that you're not as familiar with. Okay, let's keep moving. Again, so much stuff. How about creative tools? There's a load of these, just so many neat things that Google has made to encourage creativity with our students. Some of these I'll move through a little quicker, but I'll try to touch on each of them. So first of all, Google Fonts. You're probably familiar with the idea that when you're in a Google document or a slideshow, you can choose from different fonts. And you can certainly do that just by, highlighting your text and then going up to the font menu and picking, fonts. But sometimes it's hard to find the right font that you're looking for. So you may not have known Google actually has a font website that can help you with that. If you go to fonts.google.com, it'll show you all of their fonts, which now we're up to 1,400. So I need to update my slide here. We've got way more fonts now. There's 1,400 fonts available. And what you can do is you can type in, like if you're saying, hey, I want to make a cool hipster Google title, I could type in what my text is. And then I could start narrowing down from the 1,400 fonts. I could say, I'm looking for, serif fonts or sans serif fonts or handwriting fonts or display fonts. And I could say something like, and I'm looking for maybe fonts that have a certain thickness. I'm looking for a thicker font. And I can keep making these adjustments. And now I've narrowed it down to 28 fonts out of the 1400 just by choosing some of these. And now I can go through and see those and decide which one, oh, that one's really cool. Maybe I'll use spicy rice, And once I explore that font and decide that might be one that I want to use, then I could always head back over to slides or docs and I can add that font in. So I really enjoy going to the Google Fonts website to be able to find a good font to match what I'm looking for. Quick Draw was, and it still is, but it was a website Google put out a few years ago where they were trying to train their AI to be able to understand what different doodles were. So it's kind of like playing Pictionary with Google. It's a real fun site. I'd encourage you to try it out if you haven't tried it out before. But what's really neat was after, I don't know how many, a year or so of letting the AI learn as people played this game, Google was able to take this technology and put it into a tool called AutoDraw. And AutoDraw is a standalone tool, but it also is part of other things like AutoDraw shows up in the mobile version of Jamboard. AutoDraw shows up in Book Creator. And so it shows up in a lot of different things. And what AutoDraw is an art tool where you've got all the normal drawing features, pencils and text and paint cans and shapes. But you've also got this special button, the AutoDraw button, which is a pencil with little sparklies around it. And what that does is it allows you to draw something, and Google will try to guess what you're drawing and offer to replace your doodle with a more professional version. So, for example, if I said, I want to draw a dog, and maybe, I'm just kind of sketching him out, giving him some legs, and, let's see, give him his ear and a little mouth here. As I'm trying to draw this dog here, Google is across the top trying to guess, is it a crocodile? Is it a cat? Oh, maybe it's a dog. And I can click on these suggestions. And when I click on the suggestion, my doodle gets replaced with Google's version of it. And then I can, move it around and I can recolor it. I can, change the colors and fill it in. And I can draw more things, So I can make a whole, drawing. Maybe I want to have a tree next to him here. Boom, there we go. And so little by little, of course, I, change the colors and fill it all in. But you can make, a neat infographic or a sketch note or a drawing this way. And then, of course, download your final creation, which is pretty slick. Other creativity tools, Toontastic. This is a neat one for Android and iOS from Google. It lets students make 3D animated narrated puppet shows where they drag characters around on the screen and the students speak for them, and then it records a video. So it's a neat way for kids to tell a story using this tool. Meme Buddy is a fun tool from Google. If you want to create a meme, it uses AI. You basically just describe what you want the picture and the text to be, and the AI goes out and generates the meme for you. And then you can save the picture that gets created. The next batch is a bunch of music-related ones. There's so many wonderful ones here, like Music Lab. This is a collection of like 14 interactive music tools from Google where students can create songs and explore rhythm and play a collaborative piano together, explore sound waves and harmonics and so forth. Awesome stuff. Then there's sites like Groove Pizza, where we're exploring rhythms. There's AI Duet, where you play the piano and then Google's AI plays with you, or a more sophisticated version, Assisted Melody. In this case, you play a tune and then you choose between Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven. And Google's AI takes everything those composers had ever created, looks at what you played, and then says, here's how they might accompany you. And it'll create the accompanying music to go along with that, which is awesome. Oh, so many of these. Semiconductor. This is a neat one where you conduct a virtual orchestra by standing up and letting your webcam see you, and then with your arms, as you move your arms in the webcam, you can make the instruments play. The faster you move your arms, the faster they play. When you go up, they get loud, and down they get soft, and side to side you can have different instruments playing. So it gives you a chance to conduct a virtual orchestra. Blob Opera is a cool tool to explore 4-part harmonies. You drag these blobs up and down to change the pitch, and forward and backwards to change the vowel sound they're making, and then the rest will harmonize with you. Oh, so many, so many, so many. Paint with music. This one combines both art and music. You draw on the screen, and the higher you draw, the higher the note. The lower you draw, the lower the note. And it will let you then layer those and add different tracks, so to speak. And so you basically end up drawing this, cool work of art that is also a song that gets generated from your drawing. Oh, so many neat things here. Just Align. Oh, this is another really neat one. This is one that runs on Android and iOS. It allows you to draw in 3D space. So if you like the AR, VR stuff we saw earlier, this is another AR tool. So what you do is you touch your finger to your phone in the app. And what it does is it draws like 2 or 3 feet in front of you. And so as you walk around the room, touching your phone, you're drawing lines virtually, in space. So when you look through the phone, you can see your artwork hanging in the air. There's a record button you can click where you can walk around the room and record what you've drawn, and you can narrate it and explain what it is. And there's even a collaboration feature where somebody can join you. You can draw together in 3D space. Verse by Verse is an AI-powered poetry tool. April is Poetry Month, so National Poetry Month. If students are having a hard time getting started, they're like, oh, I have a hard time writing a poem. What they do with this one is they choose 3 poets from a collection of dozens of famous poets, and the student will write the first line, and then using AI, you'll get suggestions about, well, this is what Walt Whitman might have written for a second line. And you can, read the suggestions of these AI poets and either use their suggestions or modify them. And line by line by line, you can write a poem with the assistance of some famous poets. Other cool ones, Chimera Painter lets you draw a creature with different colors for different parts of its body, and then Google's AI renders a somewhat photorealistic version of that creature. Scroogly is a little bit of a digital animation tool. You draw a figure on this like this skeletal frame. And then after you do that, you use your webcam and you move your body to move the character you drew. So after you draw the character, you then act it out, and it will move the character based upon your movements. And you can even record it and make an animated GIF of your character moving around. Monster Mash is another 3D modeling tool. In this case, you draw a flat image, and then Google's AI will kind of blow it up like a balloon. And then you can grab different parts of it and move it around and create a 3D animation from that. A coloring page generator. This was a newer one. You can upload any image and it will try to turn it into like a black line master, kind of a fun way to generate a coloring page from an image. That gets through as most of those. Again, I know we won't get through everything, but I'll try to hit as many of these as we can. So let's move on into communication tools and touch on a couple of these. I see somebody mentioned in the chat a lot of great bell ringer fun, and you're right. There's so many neat tools here. I'd love to hear what you guys might do with some of these. So please feel free to throw that in the chat. But yeah, a lot of these are great ways to give students something to explore, or something to fill in some of those gaps in time there. Awesome stuff. So under communication tools, collection of some interesting things here. A shout out to Google's Translate mobile app. If you haven't used that mobile app, it's certainly great for translating from one language to another by typing, but it also allows you to do it through speaking or handwriting, or by pointing your camera at text in one language, and it will actually translate that text in camera into the other language. It's a very powerful, awesome translation tool. Here's the Data GIF Maker that we heard mentioned earlier. So yes, Data GIF Maker is a tool from Google where you can spice up your charts and graphs. Instead of just having a bar graph or a pie chart, what you do is you go in and you enter in your different categories and you put in the values for each one of them. And then you choose the kind of graph you want. And there's a collection of them. Like this one is the racetrack example. And what it will do is create an animated GIF showing that data rather than just a static image. And then you can download that as a GIF and add it into your presentations. A few of these other communication tools are more of like accommodation and accessibility tools. Live Transcribe is a mobile app that will give closed captioning to real life. Basically, you just set your phone in front of you and anybody who's talking, any conversation that's going on, it'll all get closed captioned. It'll get live transcribed right on your phone so you can follow along with it. Sound Amplifier does as you would expect. If you've got headphones in, it helps reduce distracting noises and amplify voices and other sounds that you're trying to hear. Look to Speak is a communication tool. If somebody's unable to speak, they can use their eyes to work through menus and choose the phrases that they want to have spoken. And Google Recorder, as you can imagine, does record things, but in addition to recording, it'll also make a transcript of anything that is recorded and allow you to click and jump to different parts in the recording from the transcript. Okay, that gets us to miscellaneous tools. And some of these probably could have fit into some of the other categories, but I've tried to just put these together if I wasn't exactly sure where to put some of these. A lot of neat things in our miscellaneous group. Google Arts and Culture, and I've mentioned it several times with some of the neat resources from it. But if you haven't been to Arts and Culture itself, definitely check it out. Like I said, this is where Google is trying to scan in all of the artwork, but also historical records from all of history. So if you come here to Google Arts and Culture, it's easy to get lost here. I mean, you can just scroll through and there's so many amazing things to explore. But if you're not sure where to begin, if you go up to the menu in the top left, you can start drilling down into things. Like you can say, I want to take a look at specific artists or mediums or art movements or historical events or historical figures. So like if I wanted to look at artists, I could use that and I could say, oh, I want to learn about Van Gogh. And then when I pull up Van Gogh, I could click on, one of his paintings like Starry Night, and I can learn about Starry Night. Or I can click on the painting itself and I can zoom in on it. And it's amazing how much you can zoom in on these things. It may take a little while for some of it to load because it's pulling it in, but I mean, you can get to the brush strokes and you can see how, when Van Gogh painted Starry Night, he even used the canvas. He lets the canvas show through in certain parts, and that actually lent to the overall color of the painting. But Arts and Culture is not just about art. You can also go to historical events and historical figures. They've got, 16,000 items from World War II, and you can explore these and learn through those primary source documents, which is awesome. Other cool things, OK Go Sandbox. I love the group OK Go. I think they make fantastic creative videos. They partnered up with Google to create a website full of STEAM activities. So all these really neat hands-on STEAM activities. They've got lessons ready to go, and a lot of them tie in with the videos that the band has made. Samandra's fun vocab game that you can play. This is a game from Google. It's kind of like Tetris, where blocks fall down that have words on them, and your job is to type in a word at the bottom, but it can't be one of the words on the screen. It has to be a word that's similar to the one you want to get rid of. So you're not allowed to use these words. You have to think of a synonym. You have to think of a similar word. So if I wanted to get rid of motorcycle, maybe I could type in like bike or something like that. And so you've got to figure out what to type in to get rid of a word, and then it will get rid of any of the same blocks of the same color that are touching it. And after each round, a new set of blocks falls down, and if they ever reach the top, the game ends. It's really cool. It's a neat way to work on, picking words that are similar, but not exactly the same as what's on the screen. And then here's a bunch of others from Arts and Culture, like Puzzle Party, where you can take famous works of art and make jigsaw puzzles out of them that you can play by yourself or with collaboratively with other people. There's the visual crosswords and cultural crosswords, the art coloring book, where you can take a famous work of art and it will turn it into a coloring page that you can color in and make your own version of that famous work of art. Game snacks. This is from Google. This is a collection of, I don't know, maybe 100 or so little bite-sized games. Sometimes we want to have something fun that our students can do when they're, done with their work, or, to fill in some time, and you're just like, well, but I want them to be on a site that's not going to have a whole bunch of, pop-ups or things that are maybe inappropriate. So game snacks, again, probably, 100 or so games, and they're all safe and fun and easy to play games that, the students can enjoy. So that could be a site that you could use if you're looking for a game site for your students to play during those times. Grasshopper, this is a tool from Google to learn coding. This is a JavaScript coding site. It runs as an app on Android or iOS, or you can just access it on the website as well. And it's these little teeny self-paced lessons and activities that take kids step by step to learn JavaScript coding. And then, of course, there's Applied Digital Skills. Oh my gosh, this is like the most amazing site. I won't be able to do it justice in the time that we have here, but Applied Digital Skills is a collection of, I don't know, what are we up to? Let's see how many are up to now. It's like 150 or so. Let's go to the lessons page and see here. 192. Oh my gosh, we're up to 192 lessons. So Applied Digital Skills are pre-made lessons that have videos, like 4 or 5 minute long videos, and you'll usually have 5 or 6 videos per lesson that take students step by step by step through a project. And there's so many amazing projects here. They've got projects like, creating a presentation, making a promotional flyer, creating your own resume, making an infographic, avoiding online scams, making a scrapbook, making a portfolio. And each one of these, if you come in and say, oh, I want to learn how to make a resume in Docs, they've got all the videos done. So like this one has like 7 videos, and they're like 4 or 5 minutes long each, and they take you step by step by step right through what you need to do to complete that project. So you don't have to teach the skill. It's already here. These videos are ready to go. You just hit play and boom, there they are. And you can search through. Since there's so many lessons now, you can use the menu on the left to say, I'm looking for things that are high school specific or middle school, or I want to use a certain tool. I'm looking for something that deals with Google Forms or Gmail or Google Sheets. Or you can say, I want to dive into a certain topic. I'm looking for something that's specific on financial skills or math or foreign language, and it will pull these up. Amazing stuff. I did do a video a while back on this to try to just summarize it for you. So if you do head to the Miscellaneous Tools section of the agenda, I believe I did. The bottom of page 5, here's my 10-minute quick overview demo video that explains Applied Digital Skills as well, if you want to learn a little bit more about that, which is great. Really awesome site. Well, guys, we're about to the end of our time, and I want to be respectful of that. So a lot of other fun things here. I think I'm going to end on a tool called Mindful Break, because after all of the stuff that we just saw there, we might need a mindful break. This is a Chrome extension that reminds you to take a break every now and then. It's a Chrome extension. I've got it installed. It's up here in the top corner. I usually keep this up here running, and you can go in and you can set the options on and say, I want to say maybe every 1 hour, I want to have a reminder to pop up and tell me to take a mindful break. And so what will happen is, as I'm working along, I'll hear this ding and it'll pop up here. And what it will do is it'll give you a little encouragement or an inspirational phrase or thought. And if you want, it has a link here to try a breathing exercise you can click on that will take you through a 1-minute breathing exercise. So it could be a great thing to do just to squeeze it in between projects you're working on and kind of get yourself re-centered as well. So there you go. I know we didn't touch on everything there. There's so much, but I hope you picked up a couple of neat ideas, some things that you want to dig a little deeper into, explore a little further. Remember, you can always get to this at bit.ly/Kurtz-Hipster. That'll bring up that document, and I keep adding new things to it. And again, I'd love to hear from you guys if you got suggestions of things I've missed that I can add to it. And if you have any other questions, I'm absolutely happy to take those as we wrap up now. But again, I want to thank Chris so much for having me, and everybody for taking an hour out of your day after a long day to let me be a part of your learning. It is an absolute pleasure to be with you guys. And certainly do check out Control-Alt-Achieve, where I share this kind of stuff there. From time to time, new posts and new videos and so forth there on the site. So I'll turn it back over to you guys, but thank you so very much for having me here and letting me be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Eric. So if everybody could, we're going to break Zoom on the count of 3, unmute, and give Eric a huge thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Thank
you.
Eric,
It was great.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
guys are so very welcome. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. And again, so we will share this info and stuff. Eric, maybe one last time post your document that you have.
Absolutely.
And then this is a great way to get all that stuff. And again, we'll share this information. So that's Eric. Again, he has a book on Amazon. If you want to check it out, just search for Control-Alt-Achieve, and you can find his stuff there along with his website. So at this time, this concludes the presentation. However, like I said, we're going to share a little bit about CTE Teach, and then those of you who are in the program this year, we have just some quick reminders for you at the very end. But if you need to drop out right now, if you're off work or you've got somewhere else to be in the next couple of minutes, please feel free to move on. But those of you who wanted to stick around, I wanted to share with you a little bit about what CTE is. And we are a mentor program for career technical education teachers. And so what we do is we support teachers who are coming brand new from industry into CTE, and every year we help with the mentoring of those teachers for career technical education. One thing that we are doing new next year is we're also going to have industry mentor teachers. And so kind of give you guys a little bit about information about that. And you guys can see my screen, right? Thumbs up, you see the LAS site. So in years past, CTE Teach has always supported sites. We have worked with the California Department of Education to give stipends, to give mentor hours, to support individual sites throughout California who have brand new career technical education teachers, and we help with those. One thing that we are adding new next year is we are adding industry mentor support. So if you are a veteran teacher, if you've worked or taught in a specific industry for the last several years, and you want to be a mentor support teacher for this basically across all of state of California, we are looking to kind of bring on people. And so kind of this is to help with even some more of the more rural areas where there might not be as many CTE support, and just kind of help with that. So we have tons of information. If you're interested in either of those, I want to encourage you to scan these QR codes. We will give you more information to get on our interest list, and we will kind of share with you a little bit about that. If you're interested in being a CTE Teach industry sector mentor, or if you're interested in having the CTE Teach program at your district to help support your new teachers. So any questions so far? Anything? Again, you guys can kind of hit all those in chat. Awesome. So those of you who are in CTE Teach, Grant, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to kind of share some of our tasks that we have for Q4.
Yeah, so I can't believe Q4 is here already. It's gone entirely too fast, but hey, that's the way things go, and lucky us, right? So the Q4 window, just like Q3 and Q2, is April 1st through June 30th. Keep that in mind. However, we're breaking slightly from the norm of everything being due on the 15th for Q4 in just a couple of ways I'll talk about here in a second. But remember, April 1, June 30, that's the Q4 window. So got to make sure your mentee training is done. We'll be sending out mentee and mentor surveys shortly, so stay tuned for that. That's been some pretty valuable data for us, and we've even been able to turn some of the mentee information around and give it back to school districts anonymously, of course. But that's been pretty neat. Second semester observations, just make sure those are done by mentors. Make sure that you're able to attend the state advisory webinar that'll be on May 24th. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then as always, the quarterly logs are key to making sure that we have hours accounted for appropriately. So if you're dropping hyperlinks in there to show us some evidence, if you're submitting evidence on top of that, great. But the logs, they're absolutely key to making sure everything is set appropriately. And then the virtual visits, sometimes called a site visit, that's what we want to try and make sure is scheduled before April 29th. So make sure you do that with Chris or myself. For those folks in Northern California, you know that I have moved on to Texas, but I have not moved on from CTE Teach. So I'm here, I'm scheduling a little bit differently. So reach out to me via email if we haven't been able to connect yet. And that's how we'll get those meetings done.
Fantastic. And they've been, I think we've gotten through most of them. They've been really cool just to be able to connect with each and every one of you, just hearing how mentoring has been going for you and whatnot. They've been some great conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So coming towards the end here. So just wanted to let you know about our next webinar will be on May 17th. We have the marvelous mentor, Elena Hernandez. Of those of you who may have heard of her, those of you who know her, she has worked in CTE Teach and mentoring and all sorts of stuff, and she's going to be talking about goals. And so what are your personal goals as far as being a mentor, as far as being an administrator, but even like what goals do you have for your district or for your program, you know, as we start to wrap up this one and start looking at where we are for next year. And then as Grant already said, on May 24th will be that statewide advisory webinar where we like to get feedback from everybody who participated for the year and just kind of reflect and discuss, you know, just how the program is, and mostly just share some of your successes and whatnot. So lastly, as we always say, here is our media. If you're interested in hearing more about, you know, what we offer, if you want to get some of the past YouTube videos, this one that we just saw, we will download it. I will edit it and we'll throw it up hopefully by the end of the week. That way you guys can go back and review, you know, the things that Eric shared, and just really neat to see just the giftedness he has in ed tech and just being able to share with that. And again, we have tons of it free. Everything that we do in CTE Teach is 100% free. So if you're looking for things, I encourage you go through our media, see what we have. Ed tech today was just one of them. We have stuff about growth mindset. We have things about lesson planning and CTE and all sorts of stuff that is tailored just for CTE Teach. And anything that I'm missing, any questions anybody has, we good? All right. Well, then we ask you if you could, and I think James is going to pop this in chat, if you could take this 1-minute exit ticket survey for us. That way we kind of get some feedback from you about just how the webinar went. You know, what was it good? What did you love about it? What would you also like to see in going forward and whatnot? So anything else? So anything in chat that we need to address, or James, you see anything there?
Everything's fine.
Awesome. Well, then that being said, thank you for attending our April CTE Teach webinar. We have one left, and then this year is over with, believe it or not. And then we will, like I said, we're starting to send information about next year. Again, if you're interested in being an industry mentor, or if you want to have CTE Teach at your district, please contact us. We're extremely excited to collaborate with you all. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you next month. So I have to ask, have you ever heard before that you sound and look like Tom Hanks.
You know, you're not the first to say that.
I was
And
gonna say that.
I will take that, and I'll stop the share so you can put. I will take that because, you know, hey, if that he's a great guy, I love him. Everybody seems to love him. So if that that's a great comparison to have. So some days I feel more like Tom Hanks in Castaway, but especially during COVID, the beard got a lot longer during the pandemic. It's kind of trimmed up a little more better shape now, but it was definitely. Yeah.
So the first session you did, I had thought that, and I took a short little 20-second video, and I said, "This guy's Tom Hanks." And then my wife joined us in Philly afterwards, and we saw this, and then we came and saw your hipster one.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Right, he sounds just like him." So
that's great.